Another championship weekend has come, and another championship weekend has passed. Welcome back to the Can't Kick the Habit podcast. If you haven't seen my first recap of the NFC Championship game, after you watch this or listen to this podcast episode, go listen to that one. In which this episode I will be talking about the Chiefs versus the Bengals, recapping that game. The key moments, kind of my analysis of the game and what happened, because it was a crazy game. It was what the NFC Championship game should have looked more like, because this was a 3-point game. The NFC Championship game was awful, so boring to watch. This one, I was glued to my seat the entire time. I'm in college right now, so I had to go get dinner. But I was considering sitting in my dorm room and just starving and glued to my screen watching the game over going to get food. That's how good this game was. But this was a great game overall. Both teams. This is a very, very, very what's the word I'm looking for here? This is a very feisty game. Both these teams have very good respect for each other. The Bengals are 3-0, were 3-0 against the Chiefs in their lifetime, but now the Chiefs have stormed back and got a win to go to Super Bowl 56, I think it is. And yeah, let's break it down. So this stadium was loud. If you guys watched this game, Arrowhead was rocking from the get-go, and which led to the Bengals had a rough start. Burrow threw an early pick, which let the Chiefs have multiple runs at scoring a touchdown. However, the Bengals defense did hold multiple times, and the Chiefs had to kick field goals. They were only up 6-0, could have been up 14-0, 10-0. But no, the Bengals defense held, and that allowed the Bengals to stay in the game. Burrow had not the greatest game. He had 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions, and Patty Mahomes, on a hurt ankle, had 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. That is, wrap your mind around that. He injured himself last week, 8 days ago in the Jaguars game, with an injury that usually takes quarterbacks weeks to recover from 2 to 3 weeks minimum. And he came back in 8 days. He said that he was in the training room 4 to 5 hours a day getting treatment on that ankle. And that just shows you the type of competitor Mahomes is. I mean, that is unfathomable to me. Kelsey, too. Kelsey had his back spasmed out in Friday's practice. He had 2 days, and at any point, he could have said, no, I can't play this game. My back is just too messed up. Nope. He stayed in. Mahomes stayed in. And those two are just incredible, because it is so hard to play a physical sport like football and be hurt and still perform at an incredibly high level. I know Kelsey didn't have that great of a statistical game, but Mahomes, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He completed over 50% of his passes, and with no wide receivers. I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster was hurt. Kadarius Toney got hurt early. There was another wide receiver for the Chiefs that got hurt, and they were down in their guys I've never seen before on the field ever. And they pulled out an incredible win. But there was a huge controversy. There is going to be a huge controversy on officiating this game, because it was rough. There was a 3rd and 9 play for the Chiefs, in which the stadium was so loud, a referee stopped the play, came in sprinting from the top left corner of the screen. But nobody heard him, nobody saw him, nobody did anything. Mahomes completed a 4-yard pass, 4th down. They're going to punt the ball away. The punt team goes out to punt, and then the officials are about to run a play, and then all of a sudden stop it, and everyone's like, what's going on here? And they signal, and they they call out to the crowd that one of our officials stopped the play. Just one. Stop the play, and now we have to go back, and we have to erase that play that just happened and kind of screw the Bengals over because they got off the field, and the punt team came on, and the officials they were not communicating very well, and kind of good for the Bengals, but they got out of it. Chiefs' next position, they went like 3 and out. So it kind of ended up being like even, but it was a terrible, terrible way of handling the officials did. They just took way too long. The punt team was about to punt, and that was just bad. And the refs, they got in the way too much in this game, I think. They were calling chippy stuff. They weren't, okay, I shouldn't say that. They weren't calling chippy stuff, but they were calling stuff that like maybe could have been a penalty, and maybe this, maybe that. Kind of back and forth stuff. They were calling everything. And I think in just a game of that magnitude, and the AFC Championship game, you got to let them play a little bit. There was a crucial play at the very end of the game, unnecessary roughness penalty on Osai, linebacker of the Bengals, in which Mahomes is running out of bounds, and they need a field goal to win, and they only have 10 seconds left and no timeouts. So if he just runs out of bounds, they likely do not get a second playoff or another playoff. They would would have been a 60-yard field goal, but in those conditions, no way he would have made it. They would have probably punted the ball or done a crazy Hail Mary. They probably would have done a Hail Mary to win the game. But you can see Osai sprints over because Mahomes is about to run up the sideline and kind of pushes him, and Mahomes only has 1 foot out of bounds. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, unnecessary roughness penalty, oh my gosh. But like in my opinion, what else is he supposed to do? Is he supposed to, I'm running 20 miles an hour, but hold up, he's got maybe a foot out of bounds. I'm just going to dodge him real quick. No, in your football mind, you're going to say, oh my gosh, he's still in bounds. And you lunge at him because you got to tackle him, or he's going to do something stupid, ridiculous, like he always does. Nope, they throw the flag, unnecessary roughness, move the ball 15 yards down the field, and the Chiefs kick the game-winning field goal. And just the NFL has to do a better job at getting officials the time they need to prepare. Because being an official in the NFL is not a full-time job. They usually have secondary jobs. They'll officiate in the NFL season. Off-season, they'll go do something else because they don't get enough benefits. They don't get paid enough. Blah 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 blah. Because in the off-season, what are you going to pay an official for? So they do something else in the off-season. But it leads to moments like this where the officiating has to be really, really good, and it's just not. And it's just really frustrating for the viewer to watch and for a fan to watch, because at least they could explain it. They could explain the 3rd and 9 thing so much better. They could have handled it so much better. And this unnecessary roughness penalty, that if Mahomes is a running back, they are not calling it. They're saying, oh, they're just being rough. If the quarterback decides to run and decides to be a running back, you got to treat him like a running back. Treat him like a wide receiver. Well, he just pushed him lightly, and Mahomes' momentum carried him out of bounds and carried him to the ground after you lightly, like if you're sprinting and somebody kind of touches you and you're not expecting it, you're going to fall over. That's just how it is. And I think the NFL needs to do a better job at explaining the rule clearly, saying this, and this criteria have to be met, and explaining it to the official. If you don't see this, and this, do not call it. Or if you see this, and this, you have to call it. And I also think in a game of this magnitude, the first thing that just popped in the official's head is, was this totally egregious to the point where I have to call it in this point of the game? Because in my opinion, it's just not. If you are at a point in the game where a penalty can decide everything and it's maybe a penalty, what's the point of calling it? Like, am I just crazy? I don't know. But again, a lot of controversy in this game. Neither team looked particularly comfortable. You know, Mahomes' injury and Kelsey's injury, and them having no wide receivers and no run game, they didn't look comfortable on offense, like super comfortable on offense. And for the first time, I saw the Bengals kind of lose their composure on offense. They were getting shut down, and Burrow kind of was frantic. Had a play where he was running to his left, throws across his body to the right to tight end Hayden Hurst. It ended up being a DPI call, but like I've never seen Burrow do that before. I've never seen him lose his composure, and I think crowd noise had to do it on both sides. But yeah, Chiefs win 23-20. Crazy game, really fun game to watch, but both teams that I picked to win ended up losing. So I don't know what that says about my picks. I guess I'm just terrible. So it's going to be Chiefs, Eagles Super Bowl, a Kelsey Bowl, and an Andy Reid revenge game. Because for those of you who don't know, Kelsey coached the Eagles for 14 years and then couldn't win the Super Bowl, couldn't make it to the Super Bowl. So he was released, was fired. Chiefs picked him up. He's been the coach for the Chiefs for 10 years. He's now going to go to his third Super Bowl in 4 years and have a chance to beat his former team in the Super Bowl. So that's going to be a great game, fun game to watch. And yeah, that's all I got for you guys. So subscribe here on YouTube and on Spotify. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Can't Kick the Habit. And I'll catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.